All right, time to create your first virtual machine. You can do this by first going to VirtualBox Manager, which is the application you'll use to install and manage your virtual machines. You can create a new virtual machine in three ways. You can click New here, or you can go to Machine and then click New, or you can type in Control N from your Windows machine. So I'll click New. Here I need to give it a name and specify what operating system I will install on this virtual machine. So I can type in Windows and it will automatically type the type and version information, or I can type in Ubuntu and it should change the type and version to Ubuntu. So we'll be installing Ubuntu for this demo, and I'll click on next. Oh, it's giving me the error because I already have an Ubuntu, so I'll just call it -1 and I can click on next. Here I need to give it some memory, so I can do that by either moving the slider, or I can install memory by typing it in here. So I can say 2048 and it's gonna give it 2 GB of RAM. Now, a small note, you should never allocate more than 75% of total resources available for your host to all the virtual machines running simultaneously on your host. For example, if I have a laptop which has 8 GB of memory, then I should not allocate more than 6 GB to all the virtual machines that will be run simultaneously on my laptop. If I do that, I could experience slowness, system crashes, or some other errors. But I've got an 8 gig machine and I'm just allocating it 2048 MB or 2 GB, so I should be fine. So I'll click next. Now if it is asking if I already have a virtual disk or if I want to create a new one, I need a new virtual disk. So I'll click create. Now it's asking me to tell it the file type I want to use. There are three options: VDI, VHD, VMDK. VDI is the native file format for VirtualBox. VHD is supported by Microsoft and VMDK is supported by VMware. Now, if you want to go for VHD or VMDK, you might experience that some features are either not supported or not available on VirtualBox. So I will leave it as VDI for now and I'll click on next. Now I need to specify the storage type. There are two storage types: dynamically allocated and fixed type. Dynamically allocated will only use the space as it consumes. So even if I have, let's say, allocated 32 GB to my virtual machine, but I'm only consuming, which means I only have files worth 10 GB on that virtual machine, it will consume 10 GB on the host machine. Whereas in fixed size, if I specify 32 GB, it will always consume 32 GB. It takes a bit of time to set up a fixed size hard disk, but once it's set up, in some scenarios it is faster to use. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'll keep it as dynamically allocated and I'll click on next. Now I can specify where I want to store my hard disk. It is generally stored under your username, VirtualBox VMs, and then your VM name. That's the default file path for VirtualBox to store their virtual machines. But if I want to change it from the default path, I can specify it. So let's say if I want to save it under my OneDrive, I can go OneDrive and save it under there. But I don't want to do it, so I'll cancel out of this. Here I can specify the storage space allocated to this virtual machine. I'm going to give it 32 gigs and I'm going to click create. Now it has created my new virtual machine, and what I can do now is I can go settings. Again, three ways. I can right click and click settings, or use the settings icon up at the top, or I could have gone machine and then settings. So machine and then settings. Here I need to go to storage, and then I need to click on this empty CD icon, which will take me to the optical drive, and I need to click on this little CD here and then choose virtual optical drive, and can then need to specify the ISO. Now this is akin to putting your operating system CD in the optical drive of your physical machine. Now I can click OK now, and I can click start to start the installation of Ubuntu. Now for those of you who do not have an operating system image ready, what you can do is you can go to ubuntu.com/downloads/desktop, or you could go to ubuntu.com and you can download a copy of Ubuntu from here. So you've got various options. If you click on Ubuntu desktop, which we will be installing in this demo, you can then click download here. It is a free open source software, so it is good for your lab systems and in some cases production systems as well. Now our virtual machine is booting up. One thing to note here is that this little piece of information, this is called the host key. Now what normally happens is, if you have an operating system that does not support mouse pointer integration, and you're doing something in the guest operating system, and your mouse is captured by the guest operating system. Now to get the mouse back onto host operating system, I need to click on this host key. So if this was an operating system that would not support mouse pointer integration, and I'm in here, then I need to click on right control to get out. So for example, you're doing something here, right? You're typing something on the browser, you're clicking something, or you're just playing your YouTube videos and just going through the playlist. Now you want to come out of that machine and shut down because you've completed your work. You'll have to click right control and you'll get control on the host operating system. So from here, back into the installation, we need to choose the language. We leave English as default. Then we can click on install Ubuntu, and that should start the installation. Now we need to choose the keyboard layout. We'll leave it as default. We can click on continue. Now we can either do a normal installation, so it's going to install some web browsers, utility, office software, games, media players, all those things, or I can just do a minimal installation, which is faster, but it's going to get installed less number of items on my machine. But I can always download and install these later if I want. Download updates will download some updates while it's installing, so I don't have to update my system after installation. I could also install some third-party softwares for graphics and high Wi-Fi, but I'll leave it in minimal installation, and then I'll check that, and I can click on continue. And it's asking me if it wants to erase disk and install Ubuntu. Because it's a new disk, we can click that. If we wanted to partition the disk, we could have gone something else and we could have partitioned the disk, but I just want to erase disk now. So remember, this is not the host operating system disk. This is the virtual hard disk we allocated for this virtual machine. So it's going to use the free space on my host operating system anyway. So I'm going to click continue. And that's my time zone correctly, so no problem. need to specify a name here and password. Oh, I had the caps on. Now, passwords are really important for the machines that will be connected to internet. So make sure you've got a secure password. If I click on login automatically, it's going to log me in automatically every time. If I say require my password, this is more secure. So if your machine is connecting to internet, make sure you require a password every time to log in. It's a bit of an hassle, but it's more safe and secure. Now starting the installation. What I'll do now is I'm going to pause the video and I will resume once it's finished installation. All right, welcome back. So Ubuntu is installed on my virtual machine, and what I can do now is I can safely shut down the virtual machine, or I can either keep using it. So that's it for this lecture. Thanks a lot, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.